Hello, I'm Vine and welcome to Overthinking. Before I start with today's topic, I need to address the viewers' response to the previous video in the series. Because I poked the furry fandom and got the reaction from them in the comments and in private messages. Half was offended by it, half was encouraging me to criticize their fandom further, but almost all of them missed the point of the video. Apparently that's because there is some internal conflict in their fandom or something. You might think, so what? Poke a hornet nest and they start buzzing. That's normal for any fandom. I agree, and I actually don't really care about those responses. But between them there was exactly one furry that got my point, and his comment got shadow banned because YouTube discriminates against autistic people. This shall not stand. So now you are witnessing this comment, and I would like to inform you that Nieruszaj the Stable is the most valuable furry. Also a possible listen algabe for his fandom. With that out of the way, we can move to the topic of this overthinking, which will be less controversial because it's religion. But not really, it's simulation hypothesis. Actually, it's both. But first things first. My Stellaris viewers probably know what simulation hypothesis is, since we have the Vultown precursors in the game whose whole story is based on discovery that they live in the simulation. Unfortunately for them, but fortunately for us, players, they had a total rational thought failure over it and attempted to disconnect by nuking themselves. Now, let me inform you that simulation hypothesis is a real idea that has some traction across the philosophic and sci-fi community. This hypothesis is very simple in its assumptions. The reality that we experience is nothing more but an artificial simulation. Thinking about it in the game terms is very much on topic, as game industry developments are the main thought fuel for the simulation hypothesis. So the universe is a game and we are NPCs or player characters in it. But this idea also has some implications and correlating concepts. First, the simulation hypothesis cannot be proved and cannot be disproved. There is no way to really know if we live in a simulation or not, as we don't know anything that is not simulated. So we simply cannot distinguish what's a simulation error and what's just a property of reality. Thus, we cannot prove or disprove the simulation. Second, the hypothesis implies the existence of an external force that created the simulation. Such force would exist in the real universe or higher, more advanced simulation. Although let's us abandon the idea of stacking simulations as it's not important. Third, this topic also touches on consciousness. Since we don't really know what consciousness exactly is, can it even be simulated? If not, then are we truly conscious or part of us exists outside the simulation? Maybe the purpose of the simulation is to create consciousness. We don't have answers to those questions, and to be honest, there should be no definitive answers to those questions, because those are for philosophers to explore in all directions. As you may suspect by now, the simulation hypothesis is hardly a scientific one, since all scientific hypotheses should be applicable to scientific method, and one of the steps in this method is to be testable, aka measurable and disprovable. Now, let's step back a little and talk about religion. Specifically, three concepts that are present in almost all belief systems on Earth. First, the existence of God or gods cannot be proved and cannot be disproved. There is no way to really know if something exists if we cannot physically measure it and test it. Thus, existence of God or gods is a perpetual unknown. Second, in many religions, God or gods are responsible for creating the universe, often existing above its bounds on a higher plane, like heaven, from where they can rule over it. Third, religions often have a concept of the soul, an explainable part of human being that is responsible for decision-making and is judged based on the intentions and outcomes of those decisions. I'm repeating myself, aren't I? That's because, in essence, the simulation hypothesis is just a religion reinvented and modeled to be a conceptual toy. Gods are admins which created the simulation, and soul is consciousness that they are developing or test or both. Not the first, not the last time philosophers reframed religion just to ponder its core concepts without historical and cultural baggage. The thing is that ideas like this can be dangerous outside the philosophical community, especially when they can be oversimplified to the point where they transform into most vile versions of the original concepts. Nihilism will be the best example of this bastardization. Since simulation hypothesis shares part of its points with religion, with time it can grow into one or influence the existing religions. I even see this hypothesis as a cheeky argument for the existence of God, as if someone accepts that reality is a simulation, this person also has to accept the existence of an entity responsible for starting it. Of course, there is also an option to go full Voltaum on the issue and attempt to disconnect humanity from the server just to avoid this religious overlap. Let me axe the topic here. I hope that my rambling was confusing enough that people missed the point again and started arguing about semantics in the comments without knowing that they are arguing over semantics. Please reply to them with a mushroom if you notice an argument like that. That's all for today, and see you in the next video!